Hey, we're gonna start with that.
Okay.
Okay, we are live. We're talking NBA today. It's Jansen. I'm here with Hez on the final play on the Jessica Network. We're presented by Got Skills Pro. Let's dive right into it. The Nets, they fire Steve Nash. What are your thoughts on this move?
I think it's a matter of time. I think coming into the season, there's a lot of speculation. Well, let's go back to the offseason. Offseason, losing eliminated by the Celtics in the first round. A lot of speculation during the offseason. Kyrie wanted to leave, KD wanted to leave. KD requested a trade and then ultimately came back to the team. It was only a matter of time, and now they're started with this 2-5 start. I think the Steve Nash lost his team the moment Kyrie said that they didn't need a head coach. If you remember that statement by Kyrie a few years ago, he said that this team, maybe he could be the head coach, Steve Nash could be the head coach, Kevin Durant could be the head. No. There are hierarchies to a team, especially championship pedigree teams, and you need to establish the head coach. What I think Steve Nash could not do with this team, with this roster, he could not be the leader of men that many coaches are seeming are who can be leader of men. He wasn't leading those guys the way that most thought. Kevin Durant wasn't being led. Kyrie most definitely wasn't being led last season. And one of the reasons why I also thought coming into this about I had thought previously that Steve Nash should be on the hot seat. One of the reasons is because I'm looking around the league and I'm thinking to myself, you grab any other coach that's in the league right now, they would probably have a better record right now with the Nets than what Steve Nash is doing. You could
Right.
take Jason Kidd, first year with Dallas last year, all the way to Western Conference Finals. Chris Finch, uh, first head coaching gig last year with the Wolves. He could probably do a better job with this Nets team. Ime Udoka, who's as of right now, the Nets are looking to hire him, who was a former Nets assistant. He could do a better job with the Nets right now. So I think all of these things culminate into Steve Nash just couldn't get the job done. And the Nets, as they still have a lot of problems, especially with this roster. Seems like nothing fits right now. Um, but at least you got your head coaching job, your head coach problem figured out. As far as you had to let Steve Nash go, and it was they said a report said it was a mutual part. So I think Steve Nash was a little bit done with the team too. So I think that's just best for the Nets organization right now.
Yeah, look, I never felt like Steve Nash was Kevin Durant's guy or Kyrie Irving's guy or even Ben Simmons, right? I think the key here is who's going to get Ben Simmons going. And Ime Udoka
Mm-hmm.
is he's going to be the next head coach. It looks like he's going to be the next head coach of the Nets. I don't know how that works. It's like a sign and trade. I don't know how that works, but I guess he's going to be the head coach next year. But how do you feel about the timing? Was the timing strange to you, or do you think it was appropriate? Because to me, when I look at the timing, I'm saying, is there going to be major changes? Because in my opinion, I think he got fired because of even though he hasn't really played basketball in a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the excuse Kyrie was using for him, I think people expected Ben Simmons to be better right now. And
Yeah.
he's just not. I think that played a part. Plus, Kevin Durant, it didn't seem like he was cool with Steve Nash at all. So the writing was on the wall, which it puts more pressure on Kevin Durant to win. But do you still, what I'm saying is, how do you feel about that timing?
It's for me, it's a little bit too early to tell. I would, but I would at the same in one breath, I would like to have seen Steve Nash, take this team a little bit further, see what any type of maturation could be done with this roster. But at the same time, it's 3 seasons now with the majority your core players, Kyrie and Kevin Durant haven't changed, and neither has the record really. So I'm not sure. I would say I'm not mad at the firing right now. I'm not mad at the firing as
Okay.
of the moment.
And Ime Udoka, how do you feel about him? It looks like he's going to be named the next head coach.
Yeah,
If he comes in, does he make this a championship team?
yeah. Well, gotta say I'm a big Celtics fan, so it kind of hurts to see Ime, just leave like that. But if he does end up with the Nets, um, I don't know if it will be a championship team. I can tell you that they'll be better coached, which can lead to a better record. I can tell you, I don't know if that will lead the team to, Eastern Conference Finals. I'm not sure because the differences between the Nets, if he coaches with the Nets and what he had with the Celtics is, the Celtics had young players. The Celtics had a better, more fit roster, and they went about eight, nine deep on that roster. I can't say the same for the Nets roster as far as do all the pieces fit and do they and can is this a Nets team that can actually go 8 or 9 deep in their lineup. So with that, Ime would need to have those components as well to replicate what he did last season with the Celtics. Now, Coach Ime has proved to be a great coach already in the short time span that he's had being a head coach. So I could see him bringing this team to the playoffs and having a respectable playoff run. I'm not sure if it would lead to a championship, though.
Okay. Let's talk about Kawhi Leonard real quick. According to Tyronn Lue, he's frustrated right now. He's frustrated that he's not going to make the trip. Some of these road trips, he's not going to be able to do that. He's still lingering injuries. Are you concerned at all with Kawhi Leonard and just missing games here, missing games here? It seems like he misses a lot of games. Maybe not everybody's talking about it. How concerned are you with Kawhi Leonard?
I'm kind of concerned a little bit. This is a thing that's been happening. If we're really gonna get into it, something that's been happening ever since he left San Antonio. So it's a time management thing, and I get where Kawhi is coming from. You want to protect your players, load management. You want to try and ensure that they are the healthiest. So by the time the playoffs come, you have a full ready and set go Kawhi Leonard. However, this thing with coming back and forth between the lineups, that ruins chemistry. That ruins chemistry within the team. That ruins chemistry within the roster during practices, during the lineups. That can disrupt the team chemistry when he's in or out during games and whatnot. So I would hope that there is a better plan for Kawhi's sustained injury and how he can incorporate himself more consistently in Atlanta, whether it be starting for 20 minutes or coming off the bench for 15. I would like to see some type of consistency with Kawhi and see if there can be a better approach to this.
Now, let's move on to some teams that are doing really well right now, right? The Blazers, they're 5-1, and the Spurs, they're 5-2. Mm-hmm. What are these teams doing right now? I know it's early in the season, and there's always a couple teams who do well, but we have to point out the sample size for the Spurs 7 games and for the Blazers 6 games. What are these two teams doing well, Hez?
They're doing the type of things that the Lakers are capable of right now, which is team chemistry. It's just team chemistry. I mean, I saw the Jazz play the other night. They have chemistry already. The Trailblazers, they have chemistry. And it's pretty early on in the season, so of course, that might fluctuate and it might even itself out. But for the less than 10 games, I can speak for right now. These teams seem to be well coached, especially with the Spurs. You're gonna know, with the credentials Greg Popovich has, and the Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups and Jazz. They're all well coached. They have good team chemistry right now, and they're proving themselves to be one of the top in the East. We'll see West. We'll see if that can hold itself. But if they are able to sustain this, I'll tell you, they'll definitely surprise me. They'll because I did not pick any of these teams to be top 8 in the West this year at all.
Absolutely. Look, if the Blazers continue this, we have to talk about Damian Lillard for MVP. He got to be. He got the discussion for MVP.
Yeah.
Got to love the way he's playing. Got to love the way he's willing his team. He has an old school mentality, as in I'm not going nowhere. This is my team. I'm here to stay. I'm here to win games. And so far, hey, 6 games. He's still way too early MVP for me. Yeah. Let's talk about a guy who we were talking about the hot seat. One of the guys got fired or mutually parted ways. So, however that deal was worked out, Rob Pelinka. Is he on the hot seat? Do you see him being dismissed as well, too, or mutually parting ways or fired? Either one of the three.
He definitely needs to be on the hot seat. He definitely needs to be on the hot seat because this is a roster. This is a roster, a Lakers team that people have consistently been talking about. There's no shooting, and how can Rob Pelinka, the GM of the Lakers for about 2-3 seasons now, how can you have the same problem that's been continuing for your team for the last 2 to 3 seasons? This is a team that has absolutely no shooting whatsoever. Their biggest offseason, they claimed that they needed shooting in the offseason, and they got Pat Bev. I mean, so this is a team that doesn't have the general manager credentials to do it. Rob Pelinka needs to be on the hot seat because in order for him not to get this job done, I mean, Mitch Kupchak a few years ago was talking about how bad he was with the Lakers. You could say the same for Rob Pelinka. This is a guy who hasn't gotten the job done. And I think if this is anybody else, they would have been fired by now.
Absolutely. Look, Rob Pelinka, I don't think he's going to last the rest of the season. He needs to pull off some type of trade. I don't know what it is. I'm not the GM. He is. They got to do something. They got to find a way to move Russ, or like you were saying before, they got to find a way to move Anthony Davis. They have to make a big splash. They have to say it's this season. They can't just say, okay, well, we're going to pack the bags and it's over already. They have to make a move. So I think Rob Pelinka, he either makes a big time trade or he gets dismissed. Look, I want to bring something up. It's a little bit random, but this trade just happened a little bit on the NFL. The Falcons traded Calvin Ridley to the Jaguars, the suspended wide receiver, really talented, got suspended for just betting, I believe, on their own game, right? He bet on their own game. Yep, and he got suspended. The Falcons will get a 2023 fifth-round draft pick and a conditional 2024 fourth-round draft pick. What's your thoughts on this? It seemed like the Falcons they wanted to get rid of Calvin Ridley. Maybe Calvin Ridley didn't want to be there. I'm assuming that was the conversation. Plus, with Drake London and Kyle Pitts as the future, they probably said, "Okay, let's just get this guy out of here." What's your immediate thoughts, Hez, on that trade that I just brought up?
Well, especially with Bird playing the way he did in Sunday's game too, you definitely want to push Calvin. Might want to push out Calvin Ridley. I think it was time for him to go. I think. They didn't really need his presence on the team anymore. I'm glad they were able to get some type of compensation for him, especially with the Falcons becoming 4-4, reaching 500, solidifying their first spot in the NFC South. I would have expected them to make. I was thinking that they were going to make a trade to get someone, but they made the trade to get rid of someone. So. I don't think this hurts them. I don't think this hurts the Falcons' record or chances to either go to the playoffs or not go to the playoffs. He wasn't there for the whole season, so you just got to do without him and do what you. And they're doing decent without him. I say go ahead and trade for him and try to get some draft capital for him.
Absolutely have the same mindset as you has with this. Look, the whole saga, the mental health, which is nothing to play around with, and just the saga of reports coming out that maybe he didn't want to be there, and then the gambling on games. It just seemed like that Calvin really did not want to be there. And if you're a Jaguars fan, right, Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson, he came out and said, hey, I want him to be aggressive and smart. He looked bad, though, in that game-losing interception against Denver in London. But this helps him in 2024. You got a young quarterback who's going to be in his third season next year, and Calvin Ridley, he's going to be a player who's going to be able to help them out. He knows how to score touchdowns. He's a guy who, when he's healthy, he's a big-time playmaker. People look at him as a number one receiver. I like this deal for the Jags, and I like this deal for the Falcons. They got something out of nothing. If you're a Falcons fan, you're moving on from the situation. And if you're a Jaguars fan, you bring in a young, talented receiver who could get you 10 touchdown catches, 90 receiving catches, and maybe over 1,000 yards or 1,200 yards. He's that type of receiver, so he's really going to help that team out. So I'm excited about that, Hez. I just had to throw that in there before we ended the broadcast talking about basketball because that trade just came across my phone. But I'm Jansen Harris, the final play on the Just Good Network. Hez, thank you for joining me, breaking down the NBA and the Falcons' latest trade.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Appreciate it, man.